Hey, how are everybody? Um, this is our second time trying, but I think this is gonna be the best one yet. So, I'm gonna hop right in, and I'm gonna be teaching out of Galatians chapter 6, starting with verse 2, going to verse 5, and the title of this is "Bearing Burdens with Humility." Bearing burdens with humility, and it's really just a buildup of where we come from in Galatians, and so. Starting in Galatians, we learned about how we haven't been saved. We're not loved by God based on anything we've done, but we're loved by God based on what He's done through us on the cross. And we now have this endless love from Him that we're able to pour out on others, right? Love one another as your friend. And not only that, but then we learned how the presence of God is with us, right? We have the Holy Spirit with us, and He's the one who enables us to live this new life of love to others. And so, in thinking of this, the title. I mean, my intro story was this: when I used to work construction. One day we were on a site and I had to lift a manhole cover, right? And so my boss says, "Sam, go lift that manhole cover." So I walk over and I grab it, and then I just started lifting, and I should have asked for help, but I started lifting and lifting and lifting, and man, I'm just like, oh, and finally, boom, I feel something pop in my back, and I'm like, oh, this is not good, man. This is not good. And so I just start I just keep working with it, and it hurts terribly. It hurts terribly, and I realized that, man, I'm just such a dummy, right? Because I was trying to lift this thing on my own. I was trying to do it all on my own. And I was saying about how in the same way we try to live our lives sometimes on our own. We try to do it on our own. We try to make it through hard times on our own. And it's just like lifting a manhole cover, and then you get to that one spot and your back cracks, and man, you're really on your own now, and you're hurting. And I think that what Paul's saying in this passage that we're going to read is that you don't have to. You don't have to do it on your own. You don't have to be in pain on your own. You don't have to try to do it all and lift these burdens in your life on your own. That's why we have the church. That's why we're together. That's why God's given us His Spirit, so we can love one another, right? And so my first point I want to make is this: that bearing a friend's burden is only possible because of the presence of God in our life. Bearing a friend's burden is only possible because of the presence of God in our life, right? And let's hop right in 5 and 6 too. It says, "Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ." Right? And so Paul says you're able to carry. He describes carrying one's burdens with being fulfilling the law of Christ. And if we look back in chapter 5, verse 13, we see that it says, "You, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free, but do not use your freedom rather to indulge in the flesh. Rather serve one another humbly in love. For the entire law is fulfilled in keeping this one commandment: love your neighbor as yourself." And so we see here that that it's we've been freed, right? Which means that we've been saved by God's grace, not based on anything we've done, but based on what He's done. Why? So that we can love our neighbor as ourselves now. We have this unending love, this overflow of love, and we're able to overflow on others, right? And not only that, but we see in from 5:16 to 5:26 in Galatians, we see Paul showing us that this new life of love for others is only lived through having the presence of God, having the Holy Spirit. And so this is all to fulfill the law of Christ, right? Because the Old Testament law, nobody could fulfill it. So Jesus had to come. He had to die so that he could live a perfect life, because we couldn't, so that He could then die on a cross and give His life to us. And so now we have everything we need to fulfill the law of Christ, which is really just to love your neighbor as yourself. And how does Paul talk about it now? By bearing each other's burdens. And so, man, what we see is that bearing a friend's burden fulfills the law of Christ. Why? Because we have His forgiveness and His unending love. And not only that, but now we have the presence of God with us every single day, everywhere we go, right? And I thought of it like this, me and Rachel used to love going sailing. And to be honest, we probably shouldn't be sailing because we don't know how to sail. And one day we were sailing, and we let go of the rope or something. I don't know. But the rope that holds the main sail up fell down, fell right into our lap on the boat, right? And so now me and Rachel, man, we're just drifting. We get to shore, and I'm like, dude, we're kind of stranded at this spot. So now I have to get way over there with this boat, and I got no sail and no engine. So I could walk along shore, but it's all rocks and crazy. So I started swimming with the boat and kind of along the shore, and I'm holding it off the rocks, and I'm swimming and swimming and swimming. And then eventually I get to this spot where it smells funny, and I realize that the sewage overflow is right there. So it's just terrible. I'm just on my own cranking. I'm going like 1 foot a minute, and finally I get to I start getting closer and closer, but I'm still way off. And I just felt like I couldn't do it, and I couldn't. And finally I saw this boat skimming over the water towards me like a bullet. And this boat just pulls up next to us, and this guy throws a rope to us. I tie it to the front of this boat, and he just takes us back to shore. But I was thinking about that guy in that boat, and what I realized is that guy in his own power could not help me, right? If that guy had just swam out to help me, we would have been just as messed up as me trying to pull that boat on my own, right? And in the same way, man, if you try to go and try to help somebody without in a way that fulfills the law of Christ, if you just try to go and help somebody on your own, it isn't going to work well, right? If you're just going in and saying with just the power of Sam, just me, it's not going to work well. But that guy had a power boat, and that's what saved me. It was the power of that boat that he hooked to my boat, and then that powerful boat brought me back to shore. It brought me to shore. And in the same way, man, it's the presence of Jesus in our life. It's his forgiveness and overflow of love that we have that now enables us to help somebody else, to throw a tow rope, right? To give them that line of the love of God. Man, and maybe there's so many different things, and maybe it's depression, or it's loneliness, or maybe it's just anxiety. But there's friends that we have. There's people we know. Sometimes it's even us. And we just need a tow rope of Jesus's love. We need someone to come to our rescue with the love of Christ and throw us a rope and take us to shore. We need the presence of God in our life. And sometimes that comes through a friend who can bear each other's burdens. Man. And what I see here Paul saying is that it's not done just in any way. You don't bear each other's burdens. There's a certain way to bear each other's burdens. And what Paul says is this. He says that you have to bear each other's burdens with humility. And that's kind of my paraphrase of it. And Paul says, if you help people and think you're something when you're nothing, you deceive yourself. Verse 3, it says this. If anyone thinks they are something when they are not, they deceive themselves. What Paul's saying is that, man, you have to realize that it's not you, it's Jesus within you. It's his love that is able to save someone, to bear a burden. It's his love that fills you and makes you capable to then help somebody through a time of depression, help somebody in a time of anxiety, help somebody when they lose their job. It's his love that gives you strength to help your friend who's struggling with homework, struggling with how school's going because of now this whole corona pandemic. It's his love, and it humbles you if you realize it's him and not you. It's humbling to know that I am nothing and Jesus is everything, but that is the best place to be. Right? The pressure's not on me in a way. The pressure's on him. I'm just a channel for him to work through. Man, but he doesn't even stop there. He says this, and this can be kind of confusing, but it says in verse 4, each one should test their own actions. Then they can take pride in themselves alone without comparing themselves to someone else. Right? Paul's talking about pride here right after talking about basically saying you're nothing. He's saying you should take pride even though you're nothing. What I think he means here is that one day we're going to meet Jesus in heaven. We're going to meet God. And God's not going to judge us based on how we help somebody else's life and how good they're doing now. Right? God's not going to judge your life on their life. God's going to judge your life on your life. Basically, you can't be a mess and try to help people, right? You need to make sure that you are doing good first, and then you can go and help people, because God is going to he's going to hold you accountable to your actions, right? He's not going to hold you accountable to somebody else's actions. So, man, we need to understand that we got to make sure we're right first. We got to be humble in that, because we're going to have to give an account to the Lord. But also, I think Paul means here is that we can't compare ourselves to other people, right? We can't think, oh, because I'm an awesome person, because I can help people, I'm the best. No. Paul's saying, you take pride in your actions. I mean, you take pride in your actions. Don't take pride in other people's actions. Don't compare yourself to what other people's are doing. You need just to compare yourself to the book, to the Bible, to how Jesus lived. Man, Jesus is saying you can bear a friend's burden, but you have to do it with humility, right? And just thinking again about, man, me and Rach stuck out there, probably going to be in the next Castaway sequel, how that guy just came over to us and he helped us and he gave us that tow rope, right? It was humbling for me, but I'm sure in a way it's humbling for him as well, as he realizes it's not him who's doing the saving, right? It's not him who has the power to pull me out of the water, to pull that boat back to shore. It's his boat. It's the power of the boat. And in the same way, it's humbling to know that it's not me who has the power to get you out of depression, out of loneliness. It's not me who has the perfect wisdom to make things right in your life, but it's Jesus working through me. It's Jesus working through you. And it's his love, it's his power, it's his strength, it's his presence that's in us that makes the difference. And just what I thought about was when I was in freshman year in college, I went through the greatest time of depression I'd ever been through. Painful. And I went into an anxiety attack and panic attack for a while. And I just remember laying in my bed, freaking out, just shivering, shaking with fear. And I just felt like, man, life wouldn't be worth living with this much pain. I was so overwhelmed. I had a physical pain in my chest that would not leave. And after just days of asking God, begging God to take it away, and praying and begging, and nothing happened. And then one day I just went to my dad and I said, Dad, I got to tell you about this. And I opened up my heart and I told him. And man, my dad, just with a few simple sentences and a few words, he shared wisdom. He shared some love. And like that, man, that pain was gone. That depression was gone. That anxiety was gone. And I'm not saying it always works perfectly like that. Sometimes it's a process and it takes time. But I'm saying this, that what I realize now is that my dad, in and of himself, probably couldn't have helped me in the way I needed. But because my dad had the presence of God in his life, because he understood that he was saved not by his works, but by the love of God, and that now he has an overflowing love that he's able to give out, he was able to do something in my life. He was able to free me. He was able to bear my burden. And with what? With humility. And in the same way, I'm saying this. Be a friend who can bear a burden with humility. And understand that you don't do it in your own strength, but you do it because the presence of God is in your heart and in your life. And it's through him, and it's through his power and his love that you're able to do it. And think of different people maybe that are on your heart, who you know you can help, who you can bear with. And maybe if you are that person, look to somebody who you know has the presence of God in their life and go to them and ask them for their help. Why? Because they have the presence of God in their life. So let's make this a time of prayer, and let's make this a time of help and love. And let me just pray for you guys. Lord, I just love you. I praise you, God. I pray, God, that you would fill us with your presence. You'd fill us with your love. That, God, you would overflow in our hearts and in our lives. And that, God, you would show us who you are. That, God, we've been saved by grace. That, God, we've been saved by your overflowing love. And that we're not saved by anything that we've done, but it's all in what you've done. So, God, overflow in our hearts. So help us know that the presence of God, the Spirit of God, is with us everywhere we go when we accept you. And that, God, we would then be able to go and bear each other's burdens. Be there for our people in hard times, Lord, even in good times, God. But that we would know that it's you who does the work. We are nothing. You are everything, God. And we have to make sure our lives are right first. So, God, we praise you. We give you all the glory and all the honor. Be with all the families. Be with students, Lord, who are going through hard times with learning how to do their schoolwork a different way. and be with parents who are learning how to homeschool and having parenting like never before, God. Lord, we love you. We praise you in your name. Amen. So just a quick announcement. Next week, I'm going to be doing live devotionals twice a week, one on Monday, one on Wednesday at 11 a.m. And they're going to be about 20 minutes or so. And we're going to do it through Zoom as well as Instagram Live so that we can be more interactive as well. So bless you guys. Love you guys. See you soon.